Welcome everyone to the deep dive here on FinFlow. It's
Yeah.
getting pretty hard to miss, isn't it? How often we're just tapping a phone or swiping a card instead of actually pulling out cash. So today we're really going to get into that this whole shifting world of money. And the big question, I guess, is, well, is cash actually going to disappear completely? Are we heading for a cashless society? And what would that even mean for, for us, for our finances?
It's a fascinating question. And it really is a fundamental shift when you stop and think about it. I mean, for literally centuries, physical money cash, it's been, well, the cornerstone of economies, right? It wasn't just about value. It represented a certain kind of power, trust, even freedom.
Tangibility too,
So,
right? Something you can actually hold.
exactly, that physical present. Think about the history, moving from, say, gold coins, you could feel the weight, the worth, to the paper bills well, some of us still carry. Each of those steps was a big deal, changing how we fundamentally interact with money.
Yeah, absolutely. And while that historical stuff happened pretty gradually, what we've seen just in the last, few decades, it feels incredibly fast. Credit cards showing up, then online banking becoming totally normal. It does feel like cash has been sort of steadily pushed to the sidelines.
It really has. And it's not just a feeling. In many places around the world, this isn't some future prediction. It's the reality right now.
Yeah.
Cash use is dropping and dropping significantly.
Right, like you hear about some countries?
Well, take China. That's a huge example. Over 80%, 80% of transactions that are digital now. It's staggering. Or look at Sweden. They're practically cashless. It's not science fiction. It's happening.
And here in the U.S. too, right? It might not be quite Sweden levels, but
Oh, definitely. The momentum is building here, too.
Hmm.
Think about how popular things like Apple Pay, Venmo, Zelle, how quickly they've become commonplace for so many people. It really makes you stop and ask, how long will physical cash actually stick around as the main way we pay?
It's that convenience, isn't it? That ease, just tapping your phone or your watch.
Yeah,
It's undeniably smooth. And if you look at the why behind it, well, it makes sense on a few levels. Digital is fast, it's convenient for us, the consumers,
right.
and for businesses too, you can see the appeal. Faster checkouts, maybe less hassle managing physical cash, and governments probably see benefits too. Easier tracking of the economy, maybe.
Absolutely. Speed, convenience, potential efficiencies for businesses, easier tracking for governments. Those are definitely the drivers. But, and this is a big but, this heavy lean towards digital, it naturally brings up some really important questions, some pretty serious concerns too.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Maybe start with the potential upsides. If we did move towards being mostly cashless, what are the arguments for it?
Well, one argument you hear a lot is about crime reduction.
Yeah.
The thinking is if there's less physical cash floating around, maybe things like street robberies, petty theft,
Hmm.
that kind of thing might decrease because the target just isn't there.
That's an interesting point. Less cash to physically steal makes logical sense. And the government angle again. Tracking transactions digitally must make things like tax collections simpler. Less room for, the shadow economy.
Potentially, yes. Easier tracing could simplify tax collection and maybe curb tax evasion to some extent. And think about the costs involved in just having cash. Printing it, moving it securely, managing ATMs, destroying old notes. It's actually a huge operational cost.
I never really thought about that, the logistics of physical money.
It's massive. So reducing or eliminating that could save the whole financial system a lot of money. And another potential positive is financial inclusion.
How so?
Well, the idea is that people who might not have a traditional bank account but do have a mobile phone,
Yeah.
digital payments could potentially bring them into the formal financial system more easily.
Okay, so maybe broader access for some. So we've got potential upsides like lower crime, easier tax tracking, cost savings, maybe more inclusion. Sounds pretty good on paper, but like you said, there are downsides. What are the big worries?
I think the number one concern for many people is privacy. It's a huge one. In a world where every single payment is digital, well, every transaction creates a data point. What you buy, where you buy it, when,
Mm-hmm.
all your spending habits. It
Yeah.
all potentially gets tracked and analyzed.
Yeah, that feels different. That fundamental loss of financial privacy is definitely something that gives people pause. It's not just about tapping your phone anymore. It's about, well, who sees that tap? Who's collecting that information?
Exactly. That digital footprint follows you everywhere. And then there's the issue of access and fairness, equity. What happens to people who aren't banked? Or maybe people who just aren't comfortable with technology? Like some older folks, perhaps.
Right. If everything goes digital, could you accidentally lock people out of the economy? create new kinds of barriers?
That's a very real risk.
Uh-huh.
We need to be careful not to exclude people as we make this transition. And of course, the technology itself, the digital systems we rely on,
Mm-hmm.
they're not infallible.
You mean like outages, hacking?
Precisely. We hear about data breaches constantly. Cyber attacks are a real threat. System outages happen. Now imagine if everything depended on those digital rails. A major outage or a sophisticated attack.
Right.
The potential for disruption is, well, it's quite scary, frankly. How resilient is a completely cashless system?
It really lays bare the trade-offs, doesn't it? Convenience and maybe efficiency on one side, but huge questions about privacy, security, and making sure everyone can participate on the other. Okay, so as if that wasn't complicated enough, now we have these other things emerging. Cryptocurrencies and CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. This feels like a whole new ballgame.
It really does add another layer. And what's fascinating is how different these two things are, even though they're both digital. Cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they kind of burst onto the scene as these decentralized things, operating outside the traditional banks and governments.
Right, the whole idea was sort of bypassing middleman, putting power back with individuals.
That was a big part of the philosophy, yeah, decentralization. But now we're seeing the complete opposite in a way, with governments themselves getting into the digital currency game with CBDCs.
Okay, so what exactly is a CBDC? How is it different from Bitcoin or even just money in my online bank account now?
Good question. A CBDC is essentially a digital version of a country's official currency, like a digital dollar, or a digital euro issued and backed directly by the central bank. So unlike crypto, it's centralized. It is government money, just in digital form. And unlike money in your commercial bank account, it's a direct liability of the central bank itself.
Ah, okay. So like the Fed issuing digital dollars directly, and you mentioned countries are already looking into this.
Oh, yes. Several major economies.
Right.
China is quite far along with its digital yuan pilot. Sweden's been exploring an e-krona. Even the U.S., the Federal Reserve, is researching the possibilities and implications of a digital dollar. So this isn't just theoretical anymore.
Wow. So we could end up with like regular digital bank money plus private cryptocurrencies plus these government digital currencies all at the same time.
That's entirely possible. Which raises some huge questions, doesn't it? How will they all interact? Will crypto and CBDCs coexist peacefully? Or will governments try to push people towards their own controlled digital currencies and maybe regulate crypto more heavily?
That seems like a critical battleground for the future of finance. Control versus decentralization.
It really is. And the rules, the regulations, they're still being written.
Yeah.
It's a very dynamic space right now. How this all shakes out, it's going to seriously impact how we all manage our money in the coming years.
Okay, so let's bring this back home. For everyone listening, this isn't just some abstract economic debate. The way we use money is changing, and it's changing fast. It seems pretty likely that your financial life, my financial life, it's going to look noticeably different, maybe even in just the next, say, 5 or 10 years.
I think that's a very realistic time frame. This isn't something happening way off in the future. The groundwork is being laid right now. And that's why it's more than just figuring out, which payment app to use.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about understanding this fundamental shift, how economies are working differently, how value is moving, how we fit into that, staying informed about these trends, understanding these new tools, whether it's crypto or potential CBDCs, and being aware of the pros and cons. It's becoming essential.
Absolutely. It feels like financial literacy is taking on a whole new dimension. You need to understand not just budgeting and saving, but the actual mechanisms of money as they evolve. Being aware of this move towards less cash, understanding digital currencies, it's kind of crucial for just, getting by and hopefully thriving in the economy that's emerging.
Couldn't agree more. So, looking forward, the question probably isn't if cash usage will keep declining. The trends seem pretty clear there. It's more about how fast it happens and what combination of digital options ultimately becomes dominant. Will it be bank apps, tech company platforms, cryptos, CBDCs, or some mix?
But the direction seems clear. Less physical cash.
It strongly suggests that, yes, a future where physical cash plays a maybe much smaller role seems very likely based on where we are today.
Which brings us right back to the start, I suppose. A question for everyone listening to ponder. How ready do you feel for that? For a future with much less, or maybe even no, cash? What are your gut feelings about it? Are you excited by the convenience or worried about some of the things we've discussed?
Yeah, we'd genuinely love to hear what you think. Jump into the comments below and share your perspective. Are you all for going digital? Or do you have serious reservations about leaving cash behind? let us know. It helps everyone get a better sense of where people stand.
Definitely. And hey, if you found this deep dive useful, if it got you thinking about the future of your money, please do give this video a thumbs up. Share it with friends or family who might find it interesting too. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to ThinFlow. We'll keep bringing you these kinds of explorations into finance and the economy. Thanks so much for tuning in today.